Tell me, did you ever hear the tragedy of the Accelerator manga? No.
You lucky bastard. Who's that?
楽しい楽しい
Back in 2013, the entire Toaru fandom were excited that an Accelerator spin-off manga surprisingly named A Certain Scientific Accelerator was announced. Wow. And would release monthly chapters, just like the other Index spin-off, A Certain Scientific Railgun. The fans were happy, as Accelerator is one of the best characters in the series, and beloved by anime-onlys and readers of the light novel alike. Everyone was practically begging for more Accelerator screen time, and this spin-off manga would likely satisfy that demand. And since Railgun had been such a huge success that its anime adaptation surpassed even the Index anime in terms of popularity, what could possibly go wrong? Well, it turns out this was actually a recipe for disaster. It's time to discuss what makes the Accelerator manga a failure. Before talking about the actual plot, art, and characters of the manga, I want to discuss the time frame of the manga and why this manga would be difficult to live up to the expectations of the fans. It was decided that the manga would occur after Old Testament 5 in the timeline, or when Accelerator was first shot in the head, and would finish right on Old Testament 8, where he attacks Musujime Owaki and punches her face against the building in the now iconic scene. The problem this presents is that Accelerator gets shot on the 31st of August in the Toaru timeline, and this remnant arc, where he attacks Owaki, is on the 14th of September, meaning the manga was limited to only 2 weeks in the actual universe of the story. While this short amount of time ain't a huge problem, the Dark Matter manga showed us that a short spin-off manga can flesh out the main character and improve their role in Index as a result. However, the same does not really apply to Accelerator. Kakine only appeared in one volume of Old Testament, while Accelerator became one of the three main characters of the series. There was much more to explore and develop Kakine with the addition of a prequel spin-off to Battle Royale. In comparison, there was little Kamachi Kazuma and Arata Yamaji could do with Accelerator's character in the time frame that was chosen for the manga. That's because there was little change from Accelerator when he wants to save Last Order to the Accelerator we see in Old Testament 8. Except for his new shirt and choker, I guess. There is no room for any significant character development in this time frame, otherwise it wouldn't be consistent with what happens in Index. So really, for a manga called A Certain Scientific Accelerator, what could actually be done to develop Accelerator in this manga? The answer is pretty much nothing. But you might argue that because Accelerator had so much development in Index, there was no need or room to do that with his own manga. For that I say, well, you would certainly expect that a manga featuring the title character's name would have him go through something important to flesh him out more. Sure, you can go into the manga instead with expectations of, I just want to see Accelerator be crazy and murder everyone. While that is entertaining admittedly, if the manga is just that and that alone, what's the point of even telling a new story just so that we can see Accelerator be a generic psychotic killer? But what is even more funny to me is that the manga didn't even go this route either. It did try to tell an actual story. We do get Accelerator being crazy. Occasionally, sure, but I mean, there is a lot of time where Accelerator isn't even on screen. He goes missing for whole volumes or chapters and becomes inactive a lot for whatever reason. This certainly annoyed a lot of fans who generally wanted more Accelerator doing his crazy murdering gimmick, but we didn't even get much of that, nor did we get any actual development for Accelerator. So it feels like this manga was almost pointless overall. While focusing on other elements in the story and other characters is a good thing on paper, as you can't just have Accelerator alone, it didn't pay off as the new elements and characters aren't the best writing wise. So why does the manga have bad writing in comparison to Index if Kamachi wrote both? Well, it's kinda different with the Index novel in comparison to spin-off manga. While Index is Kamachi's ideas alone, with the exception of minor changes from the editors, in the spin-off mangas, Kamachi merely sends the basic framework for the story to the editing staff and the mangaka who fills in the blanks for him. That is probably why the Accelerator manga feels so different to Index. I think the first arc of the manga, the Necromancer Arc, is okay. It's not great, but it's not the worst thing in the world either. It's just nothing special if I'm being honest, and is a weak arc if you compare it to any standard arc you find in Index. Yes, this manga is kinda short and there are only 2 arcs, so how good is the final and second arc of Accelerator? I'm not putting this lightly, but the Nectar Arc is easily the worst arc in the entire franchise for me. Yes, worse than Ice Boats. Yes, worse than the Element Arc. Yes, even worse than the filler Silent Party arc from Railgun S. So, I'll calm down for a bit, and I'll talk about each of these arcs in chronological order, starting with the Necromancer Arc. This review will be kinda messy here and there, since it kinda reflects my thoughts about this manga. Jeez, let's begin. The first thing you notice when you finish reading Volume 1 of Accelerator is the quality of the art. Like, I don't want to insult Arata Yamaji's art too much, as I still want to be respectful, but holy shit, this manga has the worst art in the series by far. Okay, I know Haimura, Fuyukawa and Shuya have had dips occasionally in their art, but overall they are consistent in producing fantastic artwork. But with the Accelerator manga, this is far more than just the occasional slip-up. If you love derpy faces, deformed body proportions, and messy art, well, Accelerator is the manga for you. I would be more empathetic if this was a series that was a weekly chapter release, since, you know, the mangakas are often limited to a tight schedule. But no, this is a monthly series that would often have delays. There is simply no excuse. So we are first introduced to Esper Rosenthal, the necromancer who is on the run from the generic bad guys known as Disciplinary Action, or DA for short. She approaches Accelerator to help her, as Last Order is also at risk from being attacked as well. DA are former anti-skill members who are obsessed with their own form of justice, which is attacking students, I guess? I don't know, as their motivations aren't explored at all, and they are just insane for no reason at all. Pretty much Sword Art Online for the villains. Okay, they aren't the main antagonist of the arc, but they are still overly silly that it's hard to take them seriously. That's also a recurring theme of the rest of the villains in the manga. Meanwhile, we have Esper, who is probably the best new character introduced in the manga. Not that it's saying much, as she is very one note for a character. Her design and necromancy powers are cool, but overall she has little depth to her character. How she even got hired by the Hishigata siblings is never really explained. Mikihiko knew about a magic side member who could use necromancy, and yet it's never explained how Esper got into the experiment to begin with, or how Hishigata knew about magic or Esper or the Rosenthal clan to begin with. Esper's main goal is to stop the evil spirit that is inside Harumi, that is in fact Isaac Rosenthal, one of her ancestors, and she wants Accelerator to help her. Using Last Order and the Sisters ain't exactly new content by any stretch, as that involves most of Accelerator's arcs in Old Testament. Esper doesn't really develop much as a character apart from letting go of her past as she was friends with the Hishigatas, and her developing feelings for Accelerator and wanting him to be her teacher. Generic motivations, but at least her personality is entertaining enough to be a decent addition to the franchise. So in this manga, or arc I should say, Accelerator must fight these mechas, I guess you can call them, called coffins, that have deceased Espers inside, but these machines can actually use the powers of the dead Espers, and they are amplified by the mech to that of a level 5's power. How the machine can actually access the Esper's aim field and personal reality despite being dead isn't really explained, it's just magic I guess. At least in Index all the magic gets explained. Now, I want to continue talking about Accelerator himself. He is basically a watered down version of the whole I'm a villain gimmick that we get from Index 3 and the last half of Old Testament. Except in this manga, we never really get him acting like a villain. Most of the time he actually lets his enemies live, like with the Scavengers and some DA members. The reason why he views himself as the villain is of course because of the Sisters arc, where he murdered 10,000 clones in cold blood. Like with Index 3, Accelerator is by no means subtle with him viewing himself as a villain, and little attention is given in the manga to why he feels this way. We only really get some occasional one-frame flashbacks. I mean, that was at least in the anime version, but in the manga we get even less than that. Overall, Accelerator just feels average in his own manga, which is sad to see. As in the novels, he is just a far more complex character. The other problem with Accelerator in this manga is that, well, you basically know he's gonna win every time. We know that Accelerator is fine and well in Old Testament 8, or Index Season 2, so there is no tension with Accelerator in any fight scene in this manga. Since Accelerator is so powerful, no one can match him or even pose a threat. I mean, seeing Accelerator go overkill on enemies is satisfying occasionally, but in Index, even characters like Kihara Amata and Komaba Ritoku posed a threat to Accelerator briefly. Kamachi Kazuma did a great job of coming up with ways to make us feel tension in Accelerator's fights despite his overpowered ability. He was still vulnerable and had weaknesses in Index. This is not the case in the Accelerator manga, however. He has a pretty easy job in nearly all his fights. It honestly makes most action scenes kinda boring. The most memorable fight scene is, of course, the one against Scavenger, but that's not even a fight scene, that's just Accelerator going overkill on him. And can you honestly name another fight scene from this manga which actually holds up compared to the ones in Index? Like, no, you can't, because all of them are pretty bland. There is also an inconsistency I find annoying. Accelerator is supposed to be immune to teleportation vectors, and yet he is teleported by one of the coffins. Did Arata even read Index before making this manga? Meanwhile, Last Order is pretty much the same, with one exception. In this manga, it is implied that Last Order has romantic feelings for Accelerator. This is inexcusable, and this was never, ever implied in Index at all. And Kamachi even stated in the epilogue of Volume 22 that Last Order and Accelerator have a parent and child dynamic, not a romance. So this is complete bullshit. I refuse to believe this is Kamachi's input, so therefore it is either Arata or one of the editors. Whoever it was, fire them immediately and never let them back in the franchise again, because they do not understand these characters or this franchise. And it's a disgrace that this was actually implied and that Last Order got jealous over Esper because of a romantic thing going on with Accelerator. That is just ridiculous. They are supposed to be parent and child, nothing more, and that is it. The Scavengers are also introduced for the first time in this manga. Similarly to DA, they act silly and their motives aren't fleshed out. They are obsessed with hating teachers, but why do they hate teachers so much? It's never given time to be explained, so when they take it so far as to wanting to kill all teachers in Academy City, it's impossible to understand their motives. Their personalities and designs are over the top, especially Naru, who turns into a half-naked origami bunny girl. Yeah, it's hard to take them seriously as an actual threat when they do that shit. The one thing good about them is their fight scene with Accelerator, which I mentioned before. It's entertaining, but it was honestly better presented in the anime rather than the manga. We later discover that the evil spirit in Harumi is actually Isaac Rosenthal, a descendant of Esper, who wants to use the 10,000 deaths of the Misaka network to reach Keter in the Tree of Sephiroth to create the perfect golem that his soul can inhabit. Did you understand all of that? I hope you did, because it's kind of a lot to take in. Why does he want to do this? It's pretty convoluted, right? I don't know, he just wants to be evil and a god, I guess. This is really basic character motivation, not just with Isaac, but with literally all characters in the first arc. I mean, it's not the worst written thing in the world, but I set my standards high with this series, because the Index light novel is my favourite series of all time. I want exceptional characters and writing, not some half-assed plot and characters. I do like a bit of juicy index lore, so the stuff with the Trio Sephiroth was actually interesting to me. I like that it complements the magic side concepts we see in Index, and I actually wish we got more of this in the story that actually complements the main series, but sadly we don't. Also, after the arc, Esper says goodbye and we never see her again. Any reason why? Nope. It's not explained. It would have been probably better to just kill her off, to be honest. I don't see her appearing in Index anytime soon, but who knows, it could happen, but I really doubt it. Okay, that's the Necromancer arc out the way. I will say that this arc was way better in the anime, as it actually fleshed out Esther's backstory and her relationships with the Hishigatas, which definitely made the characters stronger written. The anime also teased Season 2. Honestly, if they can make the Nectar Arc better than they did with the Necromancer Arc, I'll be very surprised. That's because I'm almost convinced that the Nectar Arc is beyond any sort of repair. Oh god, do I really have to talk about this arc? You know, after finishing this arc for the very first time, I never ever wanted to read it again, but I was forced to reread it for this video, and now I have to talk about it too. I really hope you appreciate the pain and suffering I have to go through to make this video. Will it be worth it? Probably not, but fuck it. Let's get on with it. Let's talk about the Nectar Arc, the worst arc in the entire franchise. Holy shit. Please help me. So, at the start of this new arc, which we briefly saw at the end of the anime, Himegi Matsuri falls from the sky, coincidentally, to Accelerator, and Himegi needs at least a level 3 Esper to help her. Well, I guess she just hit the jackpot. Himegi herself is really unlikable, as she just is attention-seeking all the time, and pretty much acts like a spoilt brat, but times that by 10 and you get Himegi as a character. Combined with the fact that she wants Accelerator to help her because she's a girl. Like, is this supposed to be funny or something? Oh yeah, and pretty much all the new characters that are introduced in this arc are all unlikable, as their personalities are honestly garbage, and I'll talk about that later. Himegi reveals that she has someone she needs to save, as that person saved her. More info about this is revealed later on in the arc. But yeah, Himegi is even more one note than Esper, which is saying something. Oh god. The characters in this arc are awful. At the start of this arc, the plot is also pretty garbage to begin with. It's pretty much slice of life filler, with hardly any Accelerator since he has a brain tumor or something. So yeah, for most of this arc in the beginning, Accelerator is literally unconscious or just in the hospital doing nothing, and all the attention is diverted elsewhere. So what do we get instead? We get Last Order and Himegi doing random stuff irrelevant to the plot. Like, it's pretty much all filler. Like, you could cut all this content out of Himegi and Last Order doing random stuff and nothing would change. And their relationship with each other isn't even interesting to read. By the time the actual plot starts to kick off, Accelerator is still sick, so Himegi goes missing and Last Order goes to investigate where Himegi was last seen. Then we get introduced to the first Kazuna Ai rip-off sister. Unfortunately, if you thought one was bad, there are actually two of them. Attack of the Clones. Why the mangaka thought it was a good idea to copy Kazuna Ai and put it in this manga not once but twice, I don't know. Like, her design isn't even that good, and it doesn't even fit in the world of Toaru in my opinion. It just looks out of place and dumb. To make matters worse, it's not just their appearance that are dog shit, it's also their personalities. We get more slice of life bullshit with Kazuna Ai this time, and Last Order, with little Accelerator again. Like, how do you want to start this arc with Accelerator having such little presence? I don't understand. If these characters were actually interesting, I'd probably give it the benefit of the doubt by having the main character fucking sidelined at the start of an arc, but they're really not. Like, they're not even fleshed out properly, they're just cardboard cutouts, and fucking annoying ones at that. Then we see the two Kazuna Ai twins fight each other, because they obviously have a past with each other, but that's not even explained until later on. This fight happens for like 3 chapters too, with no Accelerator in sight. You know what? Wouldn't it be better to flesh these characters out first, and their dynamic with each other, before they fight, so we actually care about the fight itself? Nope. Well, shit. Honestly, at this point in the manga, you kinda forget it's meant to be about Accelerator, and you just force read it yourself into watching two Kazuna Ai twins having a Naruto style battle because they both use like fucking Rasengan and are jumping through buildings and shit. It looks so dumb. Bland, uninteresting fight with no stakes and no attachment from the audience with the characters. So while this fight is going on, we find out Himegi has been kidnapped by the dark side group known as Full Course. One thing I hate about Full Course is that they always use food terms for everything, such as main dish, leaving food on your plate, chef, etc. It's weird and reminds me of some Tokyo Ghoul gourmet arc, which I'd rather drink to forget about. Oh yeah, and I said one thing to hate about them because there's literally so many other things you can hate them for. Anyway, an attempt is made to make us care about the Kazuna Ai sisters, as they have a sad backstory, of them both working at a restaurant, and one of them developing a disease. It happens in one of them telling Yamikawa in this little flashback, and it honestly feels lazy. Like, if you're writing a character with a sad backstory, the one thing you don't do is just give them a really simple, oh, they had a disease, oh, their parent died, oh. Now you're supposed to care about them because one sad thing happened to them in this little flashback, which only lasted like a few pages. Like, that's not how it works. Like, you need to actually flesh out their sad backstory and how that is relevant in the present. But no, that doesn't happen. The flashback continues, but in conjunction with the present, with Himegi being put on full display at Full Course HQ. Full Course are honestly beyond comical. They are ridiculous. They put Himegi on display and have a large crowd of people like a stadium watching, and then talk about her sweetness of the extractors inside her body, and proceed to extract something called nectar from her body. Like, what the fuck is going on? Like, can someone tell me? Like, what the fuck is this going for? Like, I don't understand the tone, I don't understand where the plot is actually going. Like, who the fuck are these people? Why the stadium bullshit? Why is she on display? Like, what? Like, I'm so confused. Like, who the fuck are these people? Like, it's never fucking explained. Like, whatever, move on. They are honestly a crazy ass cult or something that want to take this nectar substance out of Himegi's body, and this nectar substance is what is needed to create body crystal, the drug that amplifies Nespa's power for a short duration of time, which we see in Old Testament 15 when Taketsubo uses it, and also in Railgun S. You know, I already thought the Railgun anime explained how body crystals are created because Gensei created them, but now we're seeing Nectar create them. I guess they're just using this method to manufacture them, but Gensei never used this method to manufacture them from what I remember. So I'm just basically struggling to understand why we need some more information about why the body crystal is formed or how it's formed. Like, we already got that information. It's already been explained in the franchise. We don't need anything more than that. Nectar and Full Course just further complicate something that has already been explained and didn't need anything else. Like, this entire arc is a waste of time. It's providing absolutely nothing to the franchise or Accelerator as a character. So what is the point of this arc? Can someone tell me, please? We also get more information about the disease, and this disease gives people clockwork-like bodies, and how this chemically transforms into something like body crystal. It's kind of beyond me, and wasn't really explained enough to make sense. And this is never mentioned in Railgun, where it's explained how the body crystal is first formed by Gensei. It's not seen or shown, this disease in particular. So yeah, more confusion and bullshit about the formation of body crystal, I guess. Also, apologise if my voice is turning monotone. It's kind of because I'm losing the will to live by talking about this manga. Oh yeah, and Full Course are also actually chefs, like they cook for real for the people there. Haha, yeah, that's funny. Like, I don't know who these people are, or why they want to be there, but whatever. Like, who is weird enough to just sit, like, in a live audience and just watch this shit occur? Like, I don't know. After about 6 chapters of little to no Accelerator, he finally gets off his ass to go and save Himegi from Full Course. He wrecks everyone as expected because he's Accelerator. The end. Oh yeah, there is also this scene where Yamikawa is about to get shot. Accelerator stops the bullet with a sound wave, okay. But then some monkeys appear around Yamikawa out of nowhere, and Accelerator takes a bullet from one of the monkeys. Like, he takes a bullet out of its hand. Like, what the fuck occurred in this page or chapter? Like, I don't have a clue. Like, where did these monkeys come from? And why did they just randomly appear? Like, you can literally read it and it just randomly appear out of nowhere. Like, is someone hallucinating this shit? Am I hallucinating this shit? Because I'm like in the fucking desert by reading this manga? Am I losing my mind or something? Like, is this what's going on? Or am I taking acid? I don't know. Maybe I am. Like, maybe I should resort to drugs after reading this manga. Disclaimer, drugs are bad, kids. Don't take drugs. Oh yeah, and the arc ends by going full circle, by ending with the Remnant arc where Accelerator punches Owaki in the face. Yay! Except it's pointless. Well, that was difficult. The main problem of this arc is that all the characters are unlikable, and the motivations are given zero effort and thought. Why did the full course guys want to farm Body Crystal? Because they are funded by Nakimoto, one of the board of directors? But why are they so ideologically obsessed with doing it? Like, borderline crazy? We don't know. Like, showing you these panels gives you all the context you need for them. I honestly don't know what the hell was going through the mind of Arata, like, when he was making this manga, let's face it. Kamachi did not write this. Honestly, when writing this review for the Nectar Arc, I just wanted it to be over. Like, by chapter 56, I just couldn't take rereading it anymore. So yeah, I'm done with this manga. I'm done with this arc. Let it never see the light of day again. I'm honestly gonna have a beer after this. Honestly, I need it. Fuck me. Anyway, how do you feel about the Accelerator manga? Let me know in the comments, and please pray for my mental state. It's just a massive shame that this manga had to take a dump on one of the best characters in the series, and the expectations of the fans alike. At least the manga ended, and deservedly so, as honestly it feels like it was a quick cash grab for anyone who liked Accelerator. My advice for people who want to see the best parts of Accelerator: just read Old Testament of the next light novel and you'll be good to go. It has easily the best Accelerator moments and development in the franchise, and this shit stain of a manga wishes it was a fraction of the quality of Index. Anyway, thank you for watching this mess of a video. It truly reflects my mind right now. See you next time. Bye bye.